Deham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavangsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Srila Guru Deva. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satrasi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satrasi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, my dear devotees. Welcome. Because we are just 2 days after Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami's appearance day, Nitai Gaur Sundar Prabhu, and I thought it would be appropriate for me to speak about him, which I shall do. I will begin by reading a verse and purport about him from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 10, Branches of the Chaitanya Tree, text 105. Shri Gopala Bhatta Eka Saka Sarvotama Rupa Sanatana Sangayanya Prema Pana. Translation. Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, the 47th branch, was one of the great and exalted branches of the tree. He always engaged in discourses about love of Godhead in the company of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami was the son of Venkata Bhatta, a resident of Srirangam. Gopal Bhatta formerly belonged to the disciplic succession of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, but later became part of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. In the year 1433 Sakabda, AD 1511, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was touring South India, he stayed for 4 months during the period of Chaturmasya at the house of Venkatabhatta, who then got the opportunity to serve the Lord to his heart's content. Gopal Bhatta also got the opportunity to serve the Lord at this time. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami was later initiated by his uncle, the great sannyasi Prabodhananda Saraswati. Both the father and the mother of Gopal Bhatta Goswami were extremely fortunate, for they dedicated their entire lives to the service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They allowed Gopal Bhatta Goswami to go to Vrindavan, and they gave up their lives thinking of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Lord Chaitanya was later informed that Gopal Bhatta Goswami had gone to Vrindavan and met Sri Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, he was very pleased. And he advised Sri Rupa and Sanatan to accept Gopal Bhatta Goswami as their younger brother and take care of him. Sri Sanatan Goswami, out of his great affection for Gopal Bhatta Goswami, compiled the Vaishnav Smriti named Hari Bhakti Vilas and published it under his name. Under the instructions of Srila Rupa and Sanatan, Gopal Bhatta Goswami installed one of the 7 principal deities of Vrindavan, the Radharaman deity. The Sevites, priests of the Radharaman temple, belong to the Gaudiya Sampradaya. So, actually, one of the families entrusted with the deity service at the Radharaman temple has a history of relations with the line of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Vishwambar Goswami's father or grandfather had relations with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The family maintained relations with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then Vishwambar Goswami had very friendly relations with our Srila Prabhupada. And he spoke very nicely about Srila Prabhupada. Now, Vishwambar Goswami's son, Padmanabh Goswami, is also very favorable to ISKCON. In fact, ISKCON devotees often honor prasad at his home at the Radharaman Mandir. I took prasad there with His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami, and Padmanabh Goswami showed us a letter that Srila Prabhupada had written to his father, Vishwambar Goswami, about how all Vaishnavas should cooperate. So not only does the Radharaman temple belong to the Gaudiya Sampradaya, but at least some of the Saivites have had close relations with the line of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So now I will come back to the purport. When Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami took permission from all the Vaishnavas before writing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Gopal Bhatta Goswami also gave him his blessings, but he requested him not to mention his name in the book. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has mentioned Gopal Bhatta Goswami only very cautiously in 1 or 2 passages of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Jiva Goswami has written in the beginning of his Tattva Sandarbha, quote, a devotee from southern India who was born of a Brahmin family and was a very intimate friend of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, has written a book that he has not compiled chronologically. Therefore, I, a tiny living entity known as Jiva, am trying to assort the events of the book chronologically, consulting the direction of great personalities like Madhvacharya, Sridhar Swami, Ramanujacharya, and other senior Vaishnavas in the disciplic succession, end quote. In the beginning of the Bhagavat Sandarbha, there are similar statements by Srila Jiva Goswami. Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami compiled a book called Sat Kriya Sara Deepika, edited the Hari Bhakti Vilas, wrote a foreword to the Sat Sandarbha, and a commentary on the Krishna Karnamrita, and installed the Radha Raman deity in Vrindavan. In the Gaur Ganodesha Deepika 184, it is mentioned that his previous name in the pastimes of Lord Krishna was Ananga Manjari. Sometimes he is also said to have been an incarnation of Guna Manjari. Srinivas Acharya and Gopinath Pujari were two of his disciples. So one story about Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami is that on the eve of Nishinga Chaturdasi, all the other Goswamis and Vaishnavas in Vrindavan were preparing to worship their deities and hold festivals. Gopal Bhatta Goswami had only a shalagram shila. He didn't have a deity with arms and legs and a body that he could dress and decorate. So he was feeling deprived of the opportunity to serve like the other devotees who had deities they could serve in these ways. And out of Gopal Bhatta Goswami's strong desire, a shalagram shila became manifest in the form of Radha Raman. Radha Raman is considered the most beautiful deity of Krishna. He is the one original deity of the Goswamis that has remained in Vrindavan, while the others had to be taken elsewhere for fear of the Muslim invaders. And near the temple of Radha Raman in Vrindavan is the Samadhi of Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Gopal Bhatta Goswami's uncle and Shiksha Guru was Prabodhananda Saraswati. His Samadhi is also located in Vrindavan, just off the Parikrama path near Kaliagat, which is quite near our Krishna Balaram temple. So often, when we go on Parikrama down the path near the Yamuna, we visit Prabodhananda Saraswati's Samadhi and Bhajan Kutir. And then we proceed to Srila Sanatan Goswami's Samadhi. Srila Sanatan Goswami was the most senior of the Goswamis and was also a close associate and instructor of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. In fact, Gopal Bhatta Goswami worked with Sanatan Goswami to produce the great treatise Hari Bhakti Vilas. I feel that Gopal Bhatta Goswami has been especially merciful to me on two occasions. On one, I visited his bhajan kutir at Sanket, a place between Nandagram and Varshana, where Radha and Krishna used to meet and sometimes perform Rasalila. Gopal Bhatta would sit and chant underground in a deep cavern, accessible only through a long, narrow passage. At the end of the passage was a somewhat roomier place where Gopal Bhatta used to chant. now marked as his bhajan style. I remember going there with Tamal Krishna Goswami and others on a very hot day and struggling to crawl through the passage to the bhajan style. It was very difficult. But when I finally reached there, Gopal Bhatta Goswami was very merciful. He allowed me to chant with a glimpse of taste. And after all the devotees emerged from the cavern, I snuck back in. I crawled back to Gopal Bhatta's lotus feet, and I sat there chanting. I will never forget his mercy to me there, and I pray that he will enable me to chant with relish and love. On the other occasion, when I visited Vrindavan in Kartik of 1999, shortly before my surgery, I visited Gopal Bhatta's samadhi near the Radharaman temple. We arrived just after Raj Bhoga Arati, and the pujari was closing the doors to the samadhi mandir. But he was kind enough to open the doors for us to allow us darshan of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He gave us some flowers and charanamrita and invited us to stay for prasad. Thus, our small party, along with some local sadhus, honored Gopal Bhatta Prabhu's Maha Prasadam with great relish. And we even stayed to take a little rest before, filled with bliss, we continued on our way. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami is very kind. Years later, when some of my disciples from Bombay went to Vrindavan on pilgrimage, they visited the samadhi. They told the pujaris about me, how my health no longer allowed me to visit Vraj, and asked for some prasad for me. And one of the pujaris kindly gave them a piece of cloth from the samadhi. It is very special. And now, twice a year, once on his appearance day and once on his disappearance day, we bring out that cloth and touch it. So Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami is very kind and merciful. Today is the disappearance day of Srila Lochan Das Thakur. And so on this occasion, I would like to sing a beautiful song written by Lochan Das Thakur called Shri Shri Gaura Nityananda Gaya, the mercy of Shri Gaura and Nityananda, from Damali. I'll read the translation first so that when I sing the Bengali, you'll know the meaning. One, Lord Nitai and Lord Gauranga are very merciful. They are the essence of all incarnations. The specific significance of these incarnations is that they introduced a process of chanting and dancing that is simply joyful. My dear brothers, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm conviction and faith. If one wants to be Krishna conscious by this process, One has to give up his engagement in sense gratification, become absorbed in worshiping Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, and simply chant Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, without any material motive. My dear brothers, just try to examine this. Within the three worlds, there is no one like Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda. Their merciful qualities are so great that upon hearing them, even birds and beasts cry and stones melt. But I, Lochan Das, regret that I am entrapped by sense gratification. Therefore, I have no attraction for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And therefore, Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, is punishing me by not allowing me to be attracted by this movement. Parama Karuna Dvijana Nitai Gaurachandra Sava Avatar Sarasi Romani Kevala Ananda Kanda Sarvavatar Sarasiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda Bhaja Bhaja Vai Chaitanya Nitai Sudrida Vishwasa Kori Bhaja Bhaja Vai Chaitanya Nitai Sudrida Vishwasakori Vishaya Charya Sera Se Majia Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Vishaya Charya Sera Se Majia Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Deka Are Bai Tribhuvane Nai Emona Dayala Data Deka Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Emona Dayala Data Pashupaki Jure Pashana Vidare Suniyana Gunagata Pasupaki Jure Pasana Vidare Suniyam Naragunagata Samsare Magia Rohili Poria Sepade Nahilo Asha Samsare Magia Rohili Poria Sepade Nahilo Asha Apana Karama Unjaye Samana Kahaye Lochana Dasa Apana Karama Unjaye Samana Kahaye Lochana Dasa Apana Karama Punjaye Samanakaye Lochana Dasa.
Apanakarama Bunjaya Savana Kahoye Lochana Dasa.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This is a song by Lochan Das Thakur, a great devotee and acharya of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Paho means lords and Duijana means two. Lochan Das Thakur declares that the two lords, Nitai Gaurachandra, Lord Nitai and Lord Chaitanya, are very merciful, Paramakaruna. Saba Avatar Sarasiro Mani. Avatar means incarnation, and Saba means all. They are the essence of all incarnations. The special significance of these incarnations is that prosecuting their way of self-realization is simply joyful. Kevala Ananda Kanda. For they introduced chanting and dancing. Therefore, Lochan Das Thakur requests everyone, Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Chaitanya Nitai. My dear brothers, I request that you worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm conviction and faith. Don't think that this chanting and dancing will not lead to the desired goal. It will. It is the assurance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one will get all perfection by this process. Therefore, one must chant with firm faith and conviction. Vishvasa Kori. But what is the process? The process is Vishaya Charya Sairase Majya. If one wants to be Krishna conscious by this process, one has to give up his engagement in sense gratification. That is the only restriction. If one gives up sense gratification, it is sure that he will reach the desired goal. Mukhe bolo Hari Hari. One simply has to chant Hari Krishna, Hari Hari, without any motive of sense gratification. Deko ore by Tribhuvane nai. Lochan Das Thakur says, my dear brothers, you just try to examine this. Within the three worlds, there was no one like Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda, because their merciful qualities are so great that they make even birds and beasts cry, what to speak of human beings. Actually, when Lord Chaitanya passed through the forest known as Jarikanda, the tigers, elephants, snakes, deer, and all other animals joined him in chanting Hare Krishna. It is so nice that anyone can join. Even the animals can join, what to speak of human beings. Of course, it is not possible for ordinary men to induce animals to chant. But if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could inspire animals to chant, we can at least encourage human beings to adopt this path of Hare Krishna mantra chanting. It is so nice that even the most stone-hearted man will be melted. Pashana means stone. It is so nice that even stone will melt. But Lochan Das Thakur regrets that he is entrapped by sense gratification. He addresses himself, my dear mind, You are entrapped in the sense gratification process, and you have no attraction for chanting Hare Krishna. Since you have no attraction for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, what can I say? I can simply think of my misfortune. Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, is punishing me by not allowing me to be attracted by this movement. Chandas Thakur ki jai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. So, my dear devotees, thank you for joining. And now, if any of you have any questions or comments or reflections, you can raise your hand, your physical hand or your virtual hand, and we will discuss.
Maharaj, before we put on the question answer, Abhishek, we're going to request the devotees to take advantage of Maharaj's writings, which have been wonderful. I think Maharaj knows that Prabhupada Maharaj is reading your book every day in the Chicago temple every evening. I will build the temple. He's almost, today he was reading episode about Sevagram, Swami Chidanand and Vasu Ghosh Prabhu, and so that was masterpiece. Everything, every page is masterpiece. So, and there is another new book of Maharaj too, Spiritual Answer for Troubled Times.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I see Maharaj, yes, I could see that from the car. And so this book I have not seen, so I'm getting it probably by next week. So, so please, if Abhishek, can you put up the information how to get these books on the chat too? So now we can have a question and answer, please. I think the Many Moons has a new edition. So is the Watering the Seed. So they're a wonderful book. So I'll request all of you, if you have not have the copy yet, so please have it as soon as possible. And I will build the temple as a masterpiece. And then if you can read and hear, Prabhupada Maharaj reads very nicely. I love his reading every evening. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for wonderful introducing us to two great devotees, Gopala Bhatta Goswami and Chandas Thakur. So I will leave right now and see if anybody has any other questions.
Well, there's I see a hand raised, Siddhi Lala Sadasi.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. It's an appreciation of your books. I happen to be teaching this book, Many Moons, to a group of students. And I had to study it cover to cover, read each and every word. And I think that what I had learned from you my whole life, whatever training you gave us, like, I think that it's the best way to pass on the message. And I realized that this is what you have done. How many people in the world can we train, speak directly? But you have put everything there. I had to bring it out, I guess, because I have been with you, so I could identify what you were doing, and even watering the seed. It's like how you taught us in preaching. trained us each and everything. So I think it's an ingenious way of training devotees, preaching. But the most wonderful thing is that, I mean, it's like your humility. It's like you teach us through the mouth of your godbrothers, through Srila Prabhupada and disciples whom you have appreciated. So I think that it's maybe a little bit subtle, the way it's done, but definitely as we delve into it, we can find it. Every time that I had some interaction with you, for example, when I was just like going out collecting ads and all this, and the way you were dealing with me, and then I found it's in the book. It's like the paramparas, like how Prabhupada dealt with you, Tama Krishna Goswami Maharaj, how he was dealing with you, and that's how you were also training me. This is what I found in the book. And I heard Prabhuji, I couldn't quite catch the name, about the Juhu book just a couple of days ago. My doctor, who is also a disciple of Radhanath Maharaj, he said the very same thing. He said that this Juhu book is a masterpiece. So this is some comment. And I really, really wish that we can spread these books, because this is the future, that all the disciples in Bombay, in all over India, everywhere, they distribute these books. There's nothing more valuable than this. And I think that it's a blessing in disguise that you had to sit there in Carpentaria and write those books, because otherwise, how will it go everywhere? It's not possible. Though, of course, we want to be with you and I've been with you, but I think those books are invaluable. Vani, it's the Vani.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful.
अच्छा स्वीट क्लास है एकदम गुरुमार सिंह किए थे
Well, if there are no more questions or comments, we can end now and move on to our next service. In conclusion, I suggest we offer Vaishnava Pranam. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desired trees, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripasindhubhyascha
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank
Thank you, Maharaj, for wonderful your mercy, and see you next month.
Yes, Srila Prabhupada ki
Ki
jai.
jai.
Hare
Thank
Krishna
you,
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Srila
Thank you.
Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami ki
Ki
jai.
jai.
Srila Lochandas Thakur ki
Ki
jai.
jai.
Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.